But it is, as you're saying, it's the magic of the process.
Anyone can do it. I believe that it is simply a common sense way of doing consulting.
What I think happened in the whole organization is while they accomplished their business goals, they also accomplished the goals that perhaps weren't stated, was to build an organization that was really, really focused in a new and completely different direction.
As we create one brain and one heart, we are pulling together multiple realities. The notion that all the realities are true. And the way I change is to believe it and then listen and be transformed. That's not the same as losing.
Right. We win. We all win.
We all win. The man who approached me was a wonderful guy named Kirk. He said, we have these wonderful people. We have 550, I believe it was, people working in this credit union. And the world is shifting mightily. The way that the Far East is going, Hong Kong people are moving into Canada. Kirk said, we want to make sure that all of us see the same things and feel passionately about the same things as we make choices about how we work with our customers. About 30 people that were another microcosm of the whole, represented the different levels and different locations, different years in the organization. And that group acted as our event planning team. We worked with them for 2 days. The first day primarily to get a statement of purpose, because we see an agreement on a good, meaningful purpose as being the North Star towards which you point the work in the large group sessions, whole-scale sessions. And they came up with a purpose statement, which was the answer to the question, what has to be different in the world? Because these 550 people were together and held a meaningful conversation. What has to be different? And when we could identify that, we had a purpose.
In the next segment, what you're going to see is what we call building of the common database. And the people that are in the room are listening to and making sense out of the world as they know it, the world as seen through the eyes of the customers, the suppliers, the leadership, those people who are in the environment who have an effect on how they do business currently. Once they have gone through the activities of listening to all of these different inputs, they're also sharing with each other their own truth about how they see the organization and where the organization is right now.
To plan together, we needed to be working with the same basic information. So the first thing we did was go on an information gathering expedition. We heard about each other's reality. We told each other what we needed from each other. And we learned to appreciate each other's differences. We listened to the people we serve. We looked outside ourselves and saw how our competitors view us. We asked questions of understanding.
Will our goals be re-looked at various stages to make sure they are attainable, and can we change them from our point of view?
We'd like to know how long it'll be before our older branches are formatted according to the standards established for Surrey, so that we can better service our members.
And you want us to be proactive, and you want us to call. So I just wanted to clarify what type of information and what type of service that we can provide you that you consider proactive.
We're wondering how management in general can be more involved with and more visible.
And we grappled with the issues.
You have to be motivated for ambitious company to get everybody trained. You can't stop people from leaving.
Well, you definitely would never stop people.
Provide complete documentation on all of this, and we'll follow up with things that are
What you just saw was people listening to and reacting internally to what they learned and heard from the various stakeholders of Richmond Savings. They were listening to suppliers, to customers, to the leadership, to industry experts, and also to themselves talking about their own company and their place within the environment. What you could not see going on was that as they're listening to this data, they're building pictures in their head built of common information, and they're making sense out of it and then drawing implications about their organization and how they need to change into the future to make the strategic plan come whole, to make it come true.
At the point where they have just heard from all these key stakeholders, if we have figured it right, they are now ready to hear from the key leadership stakeholder, who is our Kirk. And we have asked Kirk at this point to stand up in front and from the depths of his own heart, his own beliefs, do what we call an I have a dream speech. I have a dream of a Richmond Savings Fair. And we said to him, speak from your heart, tell the truth, they will get it. He gets up, and you will see that in this next segment, and he describes how much he believes in them and how much he knows success is just around the corner. Once he has done that, the impact is that it has, of course, captured the yearnings of the people in the room. And what happens is we say to them, okay, then if this is the statement of that strategy, what would say it better to you? What would need to be included in that strategy in order for you to say, that's my dream too, Kirk? And they have the opportunity at their maximum mix table to identify things that are missing, need to be added, words that need to be changed. They do that, and then they go home, and the second group comes.
Back in 1990, we set some extremely aggressive targets for ourselves, and every year since then, we've exceeded them. So we do have a track record, and that's where the confidence to survive and prosper in the future is going to come from. We can do it because we have done it.
When I think back about the leadership team and how nervous they were getting input from all of the people in the organization about their strategic plan, it occurs to me that when Kathie and I talked to the leadership team about expanding their universe and expanding the ability to provide input into the strategy, it began to click with individuals on the leadership team about how important that was. They had already bought into the fact that they ought to have competitors providing information and data. Same thing with vendors and their customers and also their employees. But there was a point at which they began to very, very slowly, and then it just kind of picked up, that having everyone in the organization provide input into the strategy was going to make it brilliant. And that's what they did. They agreed to that. The people in the organization provided their input, and it made the plan itself, in the end, after it was turned around, a wonderful document that everyone owned. I believe that from my own standpoint, from the standpoint of that organization, the reason that it worked was that people own what they have input into, and everyone in that organization owns that strategy.
Here's what those goals are. To be the first choice for personal financial services in the Lower Mainland, with 70% of our customers using us as their primary financial institution. To have $2.8 billion in assets. To operate with expenses of 1.2% as a percentage of assets. To have 100,000 customers. And to have a 20% recognition of the Richmond Savings name in the Lower Mainland.
You will now see what they came up with that they presented the following morning, on the Sunday morning, that in effect says, here's what we believe now that we've heard from you and you have heard from us. So if you could look at those as they roll by and just think about how different they are from the very abstract corporate-sounding goals that the leadership team had come up with in the beginning. If I were a teller in one of these credit unions, these new goals would tell me exactly how to spend my time, how to speak to customers, and what it was that I did that really mattered. And I think you'll see that difference.
Our goals are to build a superior sales and service culture, to provide exceptional service support, to earn a reputation for outstanding advice and education, to manage growth, productivity, and profitability. So, how did they do? Did they listen? Did they process the feedback? And did they incorporate the wisdom of all the staff into the new document? Well, let's hear from the participants.
Did we get it?
They now move then to their back home group, and they come up with action plans for things that they are going to do differently, that they will begin with when they get home. Clearly, it's an action research project that they're taking on. These are the things they see right now. But with the new world that they see, with their new paradigm from all that's happened to them in this week, they will come up with new ideas that they will not have thought of yet. This will be just the beginning of the change.
These actions formed the basis for priorities that came from the input of every single staff member. And with those priorities and all of the other information gathered over the week, employees got together in their back home work groups to plan actions for the group and for each individual, actions that would support the strategy for the next 6 months. These back-home commitments were reported out to everyone at the event and also distributed on paper and by computer network a few weeks later. Regular report cards on how we're doing have already started circulating. The Next Generation was the perfect name for this event because it was the beginning of the next stage in the journey towards our goals. Now, we're not only a group of people who know where we're going, but we've taken the first steps in the ongoing process of getting there. And get there we will, because we all agree on our destination, because we created our flight plan together, and because we are willing to adjust our course when we need to. We're individuals with a common goal. Our personal dreams and aspirations will be realized at Richmond Savings because we share the dream. We are going where no financial institution has gone before, and we're going together.